So we are here obviously to talk about International Women's Day. So happy International Women's Day to all of you out there. And we're specifically digging into these amazing, powerful women that we have with us from the agency and the marketing world, to, I guess, talk about how we can make the workplace a more inclusive, not just for women, but for everyone, and start to level things out a bit, really. I mean, I think there has been a lot of leveling out, but there's still a lot more work that we can all do. So to join me in this fantastic, and I'm sure is going to be very lively conversation today, I have four amazing women, and I'm just going to go in order. So first of all, the fantastic Mary Keane-Dawson. Mary is currently CEO at international influencer agency TAKUMI, but has worked everywhere and also mentored me slightly, and it's just amazing. Where have you been, Mary? Ogilvy, everywhere?
Yeah, I've been everywhere, me. And in fact, I must actually say to Linda, I am Mary the Punk. So
Yeah, I know. So we've got Mary the Punk war here because on your podcast.
You'll get to that in a minute, but I do have to say you were absolutely one of my heroes when I was growing up in terms of EastEnders. That's
great. And now I'm surprised you haven't connected in the digital world.
I actually have met you before, Mary.
I think we have met.
Yeah.
But, no, I mean, I've just been lucky, I think, but you make your own luck, and in terms of being very curious about the industry. And I think that because of that curiosity, I was always looking at, what's going to happen next and where we're going to land up. And that's how I landed up, going from publishing into digital and then into film and television for a while, and then back to the digital again. And I kept on going back to digital and landed up with, we were just talking before we started with, guys with pivot tables and macros and, and languages like that. And then, I mean, it's such an important part of being curious. By being curious, you get opportunity. That's really so. Yes, I have worked at WPP and amongst other big agency opcos, and now I'm running TAKUMI, which I love, and it's a wonderful, great time to be in the social media and influencer space. I don't need to tell anybody on this call that, but I do have, very strong opinions, and I'm known for that. But it's interesting that is now being really encouraged amongst women, whereas for a long time it was very discouraged. So I'm here to support you guys and all of you who are joining this call today, because challenge is a good thing.
Yeah, and I've got some amazing questions. There's so many. I'm hoping we're going to try and get through as many as we possibly can. And of course, I've got my own questions for the panel as well. So seeing as Mary's kind of teed you up already, known previously as Mary the Punk, we also have the wonderful Linda Davidson. Linda, do you want to introduce yourself? Because you'll probably do a much better job than I have. Again, heaps of experience.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks, Mary, for the tee up. Yes, I was Mary the Punk, and then I, a few years after that, carried on working as an actor, but then was working for Tomorrow's World for the BBC, and they were launching something called a website. No clue what that was, and they were making magic happen. I mean, literally ones and zeros making magic. So I was so bowled over by the potential and curious, to use Mary's word, about what they were doing and how it might work, that I had a career change and went to be part of the launch team for BBC Online, and then went to Channel 4, Discovery, Jamie Oliver, and now I'm at Group M, where I'm, it's a very meaty long title. It's the Global Transformation Program Director. I'm basically a project manager.
Love it. All that experience rolled up into, I'm just a project manager now.
Yeah.
You're not.
For a data and tech organisation. Yeah.
Amazing. Group M, another huge institution. Linda, I don't know whether it's when you put your headphones in, but is anyone else getting feedback a bit from Linda? You're going a bit Dalek.
Oh.
I feel like it might be better without the headphones, but
Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's all right. It's not too bad, but it's just a little.
How's that now?
Yeah.
Bit
better.
I think so. Yeah, we'll go with that for now. And then next, the lovely Mona. So Mona and I used to work together. I speak about Red Web all the time, so sorry if some of you have heard about Red Web too much. But Mona actually did my job after me, but is now, oh gosh, Mona, I'm going to get your job title wrong, so I'm going to let you go for it.
Don't worry, I get it wrong all the time. So I'm digital marketing and e-commerce strategist for Organix brands. For those of you with little ones will probably know us really well, but for those of you who don't, we're the UK's #1 baby and toddler snack brand. So yeah, it's my 4-year anniversary actually, pretty much today. So yeah, I've been at the brand for 4 years now, and as Katie said, previously worked digital agency side there for about 6 years. And yeah, I've been doing digital marketing for over 10 years now. I can't compete with Mary and Linda's CV, but yeah, I can give a little bit of insight from my small experience.
That's because you're half our age, Mona.
No. There's a lot of powder here. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
And then last but not least, but my newest lockdown friend, the lovely Rachael. So Rachael Smith is joining us from EasyJet, currently head of propositions. I think previously it was interim head of marketing, Rachael.
And I was at Omnicom before that. So yeah, I've been at EasyJet for just over a year and a half. We've had a lot of change. If you've picked up a newspaper in the last year, you'll know that we've been undergoing a lot of changes of business, as lots of us have. So I've played various different roles over the last year. And prior to joining EasyJet, I think we've covered all the big network agencies now. I was at Omnicom for 5 years. And before that, I was a strategy consultant working in the kind of CSR space. So yeah, lots of, Mona, I really was going to do exactly the same thing as you and start with like a really self-depreciating, like, oh, I'm not, I don't have as much experience as you guys, but I think I'm trying to, like, particularly on a day like today, like check myself and go, I'm not going to start by, saying, oh, hi guys, sorry I'm late, or oh, hi guys, sorry that I don't have as, I'm the least experienced, I've got the least to share on the panel. So I'm trying to, but I really did nearly do that. So thanks for doing it before me.
You all have the most incredible experience. I think we have, one of the most amazing lineups, which is why I've had so many signups. Usually we have to push our webinars a bit, but we've had like 250 people sign up with us like hardly doing any promotion at all. So it's really, really good. And obviously a subject that everyone is interested in. So let's get straight into the topic. What was quite interesting actually is before I got started and we didn't realise that we were already broadcasting to everyone. So thank you to Scarlett, who used to work for us, who was online and was like, yay, it's Mary, for making us realise that the whole world could see us. But we were talking about, I don't know if any of you heard, we were talking about how actually 3 of us already, and I'm interested to come to Linda and Rachael to find out from you, already have kind of female dominated companies. So I obviously am only small. I think we're 9 staff now.
Wow.
I know. Haven't we grown, Linda? We've grown during the pandemic, but 8 women and 1 poor man. No, not poor man. He is just as inspirational as all of us women. But yeah, so I've got a very and that hasn't been on purpose. That's been totally by accident, by the way, but maybe that's because I'm a woman and we've had women that have been interested in applying and working for a kind of female-led company a little bit. So yeah, we're a very female-focused business. I think, Mary, you said, is it 65% female?
65% of our business female.
And Mona, I know Organix is very female.
Yeah, I don't know the exact percentage, but I'd say 75% women. And 25-30% split with men.
Amazing. And so Linda and Rachael, have you got, this is going to be a bit of guesswork for you, I'm putting you under the cosh now, but what do you know, what's it like within your workplaces? What is the male female split?
So given I work in the data and technology bit, it's 17% female.
Yes, which is like, we know that that's such a challenge. It's something we should definitely dig into, because for some reason there's something around these kind of tech positions that for some reason there just aren't as many women in those roles. And I know you've done a lot of work in that area, so we will dig into that. Rachael, what about easyJet?
Yeah, in the UK, across M&A, which is what we call non-in-the-air functions, and on our in-the-air functions, we're actually pretty much 50-50, kind of evenly split. We've done quite a lot of, I've been on a panel earlier today, actually, at work, where it really has shifted. I think for those women that have been in the aviation industry for like 10-15 years. So one of the ladies who's our head of trading, which is traditionally, again, like those kind of commercial, like big data analytical roles are traditionally held by men. But our CCO is newly appointed. She's been in role since just before Christmas, a lady called Sophie Deckers, who, if you haven't read up about her, go and Google her. She's absolutely brilliant. She's my new boss. And for our head of trading, who's been in the aviation industry for 25 years in that trading function, she's never had, this is the first time she's had a female boss. And she was like, for me, that's just showing the progress that we've made. So I think it depends on your function. And the call that I had just joined you from, Linda, I was on a data science call where the leadership are largely men. Each of the leads, there's lots of men within that function. But I see, I think it starts with, like you said, it starts with a kind of early intervention. And today even we launched a program in schools where lots of our pilots are going in and virtually and teaching girls about how do you become a pilot, and those really early intervention kind of engineering skills, building the gender skills gap, and so I think starting earlier and earlier is only going to help us make even more progress than we've already made, certainly in my lifetime.
That's interesting. We've kind of added a question to the question that I was going to start with now, because I think I was talking about how I feel that sometimes I've recruited, like I say, by accident rather than by design, a lot of females. Do you think having a female, because there's some amazingly inspirational female CEOs out there now, we've got ITV, we've got Microsoft, some of the really big British institutions and global institutions being led, certainly in the UK, by women. Do you think that helps when you're recruiting? If you've got a really amazing female CEO, does that help in terms of making the gender balance a bit more neutral?
I'll give you my one little adage before I pass the mic to Mary, who looks like she's about to talk. And it's helped me. If you can't see it, you can't be it. And I don't think it matters whether that's a woman within your own business or your own organization, or whether it's more than just women, right? Like, we're talking about broad diversity and inclusion, but I do really believe if you can't see people in those roles, it's going to be really difficult for you to be in one of those roles. And so that's my little adage that I like to think about when I'm looking at organizations that I might want to work with or consider working with, for sure.
Amazing. Anyone else, anything to add on that?
Well, I think you kind of have there are challenges about female leadership. And I mean, having been around as long as I have, I've seen an evolution take place, which I really do think is worth acknowledging. Certainly my first managing director's job was when I was 27. That's 30 years ago now. And at those times, and when I say those times, I think there is within a culture of organizations often an imperative that there's pressure on women to emulate what I consider to be the worst traits of men, which is when to get on you've got to be a bully. And unfortunately I don't celebrate those women, because I think they have held us back. And I'm probably on the record somewhere being highly critical of certain individuals because of the hypocrisy and the complacency of, like, I got here, now I'm not letting anyone else in. I've seen plenty of that. And I will say, because I don't ever think I'll be working with one again, I think the OpCos are the worst culprits in this. Because and I think that's actually been to the benefit of smaller organizations like and startups in the ecosystem. I think that the opcos are now beginning to realize they have to change, and there's a generation of women who are coming up the ranks who are just brilliant, are absolutely brilliant, and they won't suffer for the hypocrisy because they will shout it out, and I encourage them to do so. Sorry to sound so sober about
no, but that is actually really interesting. We had a question in which is kind of along those lines, and I certainly, I don't know, I wonder if I'm too open, but how should female leaders be? Like, and all of us are female leaders, so what kind of attitude should you have? Because I feel with my team and the staff at Street that I'm probably way too open. I think they all know all about my personal life. Sorry guys. In fact, I had a podcast about it this week. I was actually interviewed on one rather than me interviewing people. So yeah, if you want a funny listen, we'll share that with you all afterwards. I have had a very bizarre life, but I'm very open and I'm very inclusive, and I try to make sure that I'm a leader and not a boss, and I actually want my team to be coming to me with ideas. I don't want it to be bottom down all the time. That's totally against how I view things, and I hope that that attitude has been part of our success, and maybe why I've attracted to have lots of females come and work for us. But is there what kind of attitude, as how do you become, I don't know how I'm asking this question very well, I don't think I'm asking this question very well, but the differentiation between friend, leader, boss, how do we get that dynamic right?
I think what Mary was articulating has certainly been a universal experience, I think. However, I do think what you're describing, Katie, is how on a daily basis do you continue to be a leader but also a pastoral carer for your team and your workforce. And there are different hats that you wear on different days or with different people. You're the teacher in one meeting, you are the autocrat in another meeting, you're the democrat in another meeting, you are the nurturer in another meeting. And you get to wear different hats according to the situation. And I guess as leaders, or as we get more experience, it's about understanding when we put those different hats on and understanding what our role is at that particular time. So it's not, we don't have to have one size fits all. It depends on the people. And also sometimes, I know, we're just talking before openly about lockdown and children, and sometimes it's my friends that phone my son up and say, you could be doing this, but it's me that's prompted them to say it. So it's the same message, but it's a different voice. So I don't know what the other women, or I'm seeing lots of stuff come in the chat, but what everybody else feels about that approach. But that's certainly my approach, is that sometimes, most days it's different. It's, you take a different approach according to the situation and the people that you're interacting with.
Definitely. Is there, a big question, which was going to be the one that I was going to start with actually, is, regardless, I guess, if you're a man or a woman, if there's in fact we've got a really good mixture here today. I think we are slightly more women, but there's a lot of men who are obviously very interested in learning how they can make the workplace more inclusive. So do you guys have any tips on how workplaces can promote a more inclusive balance within their workplace, agencies, brands, businesses in general? Big question. No one wants to go first now.
Don't all jump in at once.
We're probably all too polite.
Just go for it, girls.
You just have to have the platforms, don't you? And you have to be in, it's just really important to actually have a comprehensive platform. And the voices that are heard are not always the most senior people in the business, whether they're men or women. I think this is where you get the potential for, just kind of, diversity washing, if you know what I mean, pretending that you're doing things. In actual fact, if you don't give power to people who are in the low, in the roles that are customer facing, for example, or guest facing, or whatever it might be, and they haven't got any power to make decisions, then you will not develop your people in the right way so that they can handle power, because that's the other part of this. Being a successful female entrepreneur or leader, or however one defines oneself, you absolutely have to you have to toughen up, because it does, you have to make some difficult decisions. You have to make decisions that will often make you very unpopular, and people will question those decisions, but you've got to have the foresight and the confidence to be able to live with those decisions as well. And learning that is really difficult unless you enable the company and the organization to make mistakes, and not allow senior people to always take all the praise and all the glory and all the money. That's the other part of this, because commercial empowerment, which is one of the reasons that you're a single mum, I was a single mum, that drove me into getting into business and taking leadership roles, because I basically, it was the only way I was going to be able to afford to do the things I wanted to do with my life. Mm-hmm. So if people are unable to see genuine remuneration alongside their success, then you're going to build a very disillusioned and, in my experience, toxic cultures. So I think those are sorry, there was a whole bunch of stuff I threw out there.
No, that's really good. The more tips, the better. No, really interesting. I totally agree. I mean, one of the things, and I know this is, people feel differently about this, but I wonder whether this would help. And I know there are companies doing this already. So for instance, to make the workplace more inclusive, obviously, and you talked a little bit about it, obviously, I've been a single mum, for 12 years. I can't find a nice man, apparently. Mother knows all about that. Anyway, maybe I have a few on the go now. I don't, because we're not. Anyway, that's another story. God, I've just, be quiet, Katie. Anyway,
try a woman, Katie. You try a woman.
Yeah, I know. Do you know what? I do keep saying that to my girlfriends. We could just buy a fabulous house, all help each other, and then just get a couple of hot guys around every week, and we'd be happy as Larry. But it's much better that us women and really always help each other. Like you were saying, Linda, that you get your friends on the phone too. We're very good like that. We all have each other's backs. And I've totally lost what I was going to ask now. Oh yes, okay. About children. So what I was going to ask is that basically my kind of view on this is, a lot of my girlfriends in business who've had really great jobs, of either fairly senior friends of mine that have worked at Cisco and other places, they've had to give up their careers at some point to have children, and the husband works, or whatever happened, and we're quite I guess it's not submissive, but it's just the way it's always been done. And I can't say that I was necessarily any different when I did actually go back to work when she was 8 months old. My daughter was 8 months old, but I gave up work. Now there are companies like Google, and I can't remember who else, maybe Us Too, actually, an agency that a lot of you guys listening will know, have done things like shared parental leave, so that it doesn't matter who takes it, either of you can take it. So be the father or the mother, so that the choice lies with you, not with, okay, only the mother can take maternity leave. Paternity leave, so you only get 2 weeks, and it's at 90% pay. And lots of people obviously also doing some really great things, like, for instance, paying full pay when people are on maternity. So is that something that you think would make, because I feel like that would make a fairly seismic change personally, because it empowers the individuals to make the decision. But I don't know, I know there's lots of people that say maybe that isn't something that should happen.
Well, but how do you make it fair? Okay, that's the question. I mean, just looking at it from a very sort of like basic perspective of, and I think the Swedish government and economy have done quite a lot of work in this area, where as a smallish enterprise, there are allowances that can be given, so that women and men who want to take leave and so on and so forth are treated equally, but that they don't penalize the company. Because obviously, if you're Google, or Facebook or whatever, you're one of the biggest, most profitable businesses in the world. So it's a very different economic question that you're asking. Okay. if you're trying to start something off, or you're trying to build a business, and maybe sometimes, you know, the business never gets any bigger than 15 to 20 people, because it's that, you know, that's the type of business that it is. It's difficult to, you know, to make the sums work. And I think that, you know, speaking as somebody who's been in big organizations as well as, you know, started and run smaller ones, I think that is the biggest challenge. You know, it's about how can you be fair to people, and how can you have a fair playing field. But I don't think that we can just simply say, well, you know, that's that problem, and sorry, but I can't do anything about it. It's a conversation that needs to be had openly and by politicians. And when you look at the situation we have at the moment with our current government, you know, there are hardly any women in it. You know, so it's, where do you get, you know, unless women are actually in power and are able to talk about the issues that actually impact women and affect regulatory change, nothing will happen, I'm afraid. You know, and that's why we shouldn't take days like today for granted. It's so important that we speak openly about the real challenges that face women and businesses in terms of actually making these things possible for us.
Yeah, that's so interesting, actually. Sorry, just on that point very quickly, if you have got any challenges, please write them in the chat and we can try and discuss them. And I did forget to say, obviously, if you've got questions for the panel, put them in the Q&A. I do have a whole load of questions that were submitted before, so I will try and get to them all. But yeah, if you've got any challenges or things that you're facing, because I think that could be interesting for us to chat about, please do post it in the chat. Sorry, Rachel.
No, Mary, I think it was really good provocation, because I think that the point about parity is really, really key. And then how you linked it at the end to why today is important. You know, loads of people, even in our progressive, you know, postmodern world, still ask me, you know, why is there an International Women's Day? Where's the International Men's Day? Which, after the year we've had with Black Lives Matter, kind of still begs to differ. Well, until we have gender equality, until we have no gender pay gap, until there's no gender pain gap, which is my new favorite thing. How many women talk about endometriosis and how, you know, once a month they can't go to work or are absolutely wiped out for a week because of PMS? It just isn't talked about. So I think until, I completely agree on the parity point, and absolutely, like, it starts with government. It starts with policy, it starts with big business like Google, you know, setting a precedent where they can afford, you know, blah, blah, blah. I guess where, and again, in the year that we've had, trying to, all of the stuff that's out of our control, I guess I try and bring it back to what can I impact and what can I control. And, you know, I can't, you know, commit to change, you know, easyJet's maternity policy from what it already is to help my team, you know, make choices about their childcare. But what I can do is enable more flexible working hours. I can listen to them and create a more, you know, inclusive environment where I'm understanding their needs might change throughout the month. I can talk about things openly. And you said earlier about using your platform. I think also for me, I'm trying to create a platform within my team at work, which is that even using days like today, yes, for me, it's about creating gender equality. But I believe that when women win, we all win. That you know, me being in leadership allows me to use my voice for all kinds of injustice, social justice, you know, BAME equality. Like when we start to shift the balance in one area, we talk about the diversity wheel quite a lot, about different, inclusivity and kind of diversity issues are really important to society. And for me, like, when you start to make progress in one of those areas, it's not a trade-off. You know, the more women's equality we have, it doesn't mean we have worse disability equality. The minute you start to tackle any of those issues in that wheel, you start to shift balance in other areas too. So I think, again, I can't tackle everything all at once, and God, I'm only a woman, but I can start to, make a tiny impact in small areas. And for me right now, it's impacting my team, making a better environment for them to work flexibly, to talk about stuff like periods.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, I love that you talked about endometriosis, because I suffer with it really badly, and I've just had 2 operations because of endo. And actually, a friend of mine, I don't think he's online, who used to do some contract work for us, saw like you get those boards in the tube station, just saying how bad it is. And actually mine, now I've just had the op, is not so bad. But it is debilitating. I mean, and men have stuff, of course, as well. But that, you know, it is something, you know, we have month after month after month. So, you know, it's something to be recognised and not kind of frowned upon. Oh, no, she's got a period, or just, I mean.
And Katie, can I just jump in, because I've just seen someone said a comment about International Men's Day. Yeah. So for me, talking about International Men's Day is akin to saying White Lives Matter. Men's mental health should absolutely be on the agenda, but I believe that there is not a gender pay gap that is detrimental to men's wages. There are more women that have been impacted by job insecurity and job losses as a result of COVID than men. That is a gender issue, and it's in the favour of men. So yes, I believe that and I believe that if we get gender equality, it means men can talk about their emotions. It means men can cry on TV. It means that men can talk about all of those things that we say that they can't because they're men. You free women to own the stage. You also free men to do the same. So for me, it's about gender equality, not women are better than men. So I just wanted to be clear on that.
Yeah, I agree with Rachel. I feel like, you know, all of the areas you just covered are so true to me, because I manage a small team, but we're all, you know, females in there, and we're all single and we don't have children, and there aren't policies or widely around. I mean, I'm very lucky at Organix that there is flexible working, but pre-COVID, I think a lot of businesses would say that flexible working was in place for parents, for mums, and you'd think, okay, well, I've chosen not to have a child, or I haven't even had that choice, but that doesn't mean that I should be at any less of an advantage to be able to work more flexibly, because actually the reality is I don't have a partner or I don't have children and I'm completely on my own and I have to run my whole household on my own. So, but I still need flexible working as well. And I think it goes far beyond just what you said, just having flexible working for parents. It goes through just gender equality in general, full stop, at the workplace, no matter your life circumstances.
Yeah, we did see a stat actually. So Michaela, I don't know if you can share this because I can't find it in my notes, which I'm sort of sorry. That's why I keep looking over here because I'm looking at my notes. But I think the lovely Paul Hackett from the Wellbeings, who has given some amazing information, by the way, which I'm going to share with you all on email and quote Paul because he's wonderful and he has been chatting in the chat. So hello, Paul Hackett from the Wellbeings. But I think he said something, a stat, and Michaela, if you can find the stat and post it in the chat, that'd be really handy. That obviously since the pandemic hit out, there's been this furlough scheme rolled out, but something like 70%. Yeah. Oh, was it you that mentioned this, Linda?
No, it was Michaela, but it was a really high number, like 80%.
Something like 80% of people on furlough are women.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that really, it shocked me at first. And then I was like, well, yeah, is that because women are asking to be furloughed because they need to look at staying at home and look after the kids, and you know, it's impossible. I mean, I know so many people who are doing this kind of like, I'm doing 9 till 1 and my husband's doing 1 till 5, and you know, they're having to juggle their work day. But I was still quite astounded by that figure. So I don't, you know, that is gonna, and I think Dom, you mentioned in the chat, so hello Dom, who works for me, that you know, actually this is we're gonna be in a worse position. You know, this has set us back. We can't escape the fact that it set us back. So yeah, it's sad. Another little fact from Paul, gosh, we're already at over half past, but he said it isn't by accident that those countries that were first to respond proactively to COVID-19 are led whoop whoop, nor is it coincidental that the fastest growing sector in the global venture capital is femtech. NB, I'm now also a leader at the US digital VC platform Vintro, myvintro.com, not me, that's Paul, focusing on innovation-driven businesses led by women. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I mean, what a change. I mean, Linda, obviously you've worked in that sector. Is that a trend that I mean, I'm certainly seeing, I know quite a few female founders of tech companies. It is definitely shifting.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't worked with female tech founders, But yes, you're right, that is shifting, and female tech is a really interesting space right now, particularly for women of a certain age, and well, actually for women of all ages, actually just thinking of requalifying that statement. The converse of that, though, is in big organisations in technology roles, is that there are hardly any women still. So CTOs who are female, that's rare still.
I mean, yeah.
Go on, Mary.
No, I actually, when I took the role at TAKUMI, I started searching for a female CTO, because the business was founded originally by some Icelandic engineers, very, very talented engineers, but engineers nonetheless, who had a problem that they could understand needed to be solved. So that's what they did. It's just nobody else saw it as a problem. So it was, and we really, really, really struggled. And in the end, we've now started working with a Ukrainian female-led outsourced technology business. Absolutely
phenomenal. How wonderful. Yeah, we work with you.
Find them was really tough. Really? And I want to put a thank you, shout out to Ben Williams, who is leading that project for me, and he's been amazing. I mean, he has really been amazing in saying we've got to find the best female, engineers in the world, because we want that perspective for TAKUMI's development, because it is important as a software. We're a technology business as well as being a service-oriented business, that we are able to have the lens of a woman and female perspective from an influence perspective in particular, because influencers and creators are, interestingly enough, their identification of how they describe themselves is often fluid in a way that I don't think, you have to be a Gen Zer to really understand it, if you get my drift. And that's I think a phenomenon that the world of technology and digital is moving at such an incredible pace. The other thing we have to do as women, and I think women are very well placed to do this as mothers and as aunties and as whatever, is listen to what young people are saying, because they have got very different perspectives than the people who run the world, if that makes sense.
Sorry, blah, blah, blah. Trying to get through loads of questions. So someone's actually asked about being in their early career, in their first senior position. My challenge is finding mentorship and a career perspective outside of my organization. How important are those connections, and can we do more to create spaces for and access to mentorship? Which ties in with a question that was submitted, blah, 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 and now I can't find it. Which I thought it kind of tied in anyway, is what career advice would you give your younger self? So I'm kind of merging two questions there together because I want to answer as many as possible, but I think that's a really interesting one. I mean, I'm part of a mentorship program at BEMA, the British Interactive Media Association, and I've mentored a business owner who's a man, and also I'm mentoring a younger lady, Charlie, she might even be online, at Good Loop, who's the head of marketing. That's another female founded tech company. Whoop, whoop. So I think there are programs out there. I don't know where I would go though if I wasn't part of a network or association to find them. So I don't know if you ladies,
you never asked that question. My email address is linda.davidson@groupn.tech. Email me.
Yes, excellent. Love that, Linda. We will share that. Ladies, is everyone happy to share, like, at least LinkedIn profiles? I'll definitely share.
Oh, yeah, no, of course. Yeah, my advice would always be ask people. There's two benefits of asking someone to be your mentor. One, it will be hugely flattering for them, and I don't know a single person, let alone woman, who wouldn't benefit from you telling them that you think she's doing an incredible job, that she's an inspirational leader, and that you think that she could add value and speak some value into your life and into your career. And then the second thing is that then is you taking ownership of your own mentorship and career into your own hands, which is something that, again, I'm just hugely passionate about, which ties nicely into your question, Katie, of what advice would you give your younger self? And it's the advice that I still try to give myself today. You own your own career. you own the choices that you make, the way that you keep your hand up, the way you volunteer for stuff, how you show up to your team, to the people you work with. And I think I would be saying that to myself, my younger self. Own it, take the opportunities, and if the opportunities don't present themselves, go and find them. And then I think the other piece of advice would be, which I'm still learning, don't put pressure on yourself, because your boss, society, your family, friends, the newspapers, if you're higher profile than I am, everyone else is going to be putting pressure on you. So you sure as hell do not need to put any pressure on yourself at all. And I think if you can, I still put too much pressure on myself, and I know that. But I guess then knowing yourself and getting to know yourself is something that I wish I'd mastered, even that thing as a thing that you should do earlier than I did. I still don't know myself very, very well, but I think knowing what your values are, knowing what the absolute things that you need that fulfill you, if I'd started to tap into some of that stuff earlier, which mentoring and actually coaching does help you develop, I think, my career might have been a bit more fruitful earlier.
Yeah.
Sorry, very quickly, is Rachel's video working for everyone, or is it?
No, she's frozen.
Rachel, maybe.
Oh, good. Excellent. Hopefully in a not really nice position.
No,
probably.
You actually, it's quite lovely. When I pause, like everyone wants to do a screenshot of me and send it.
Yeah, I've normally got my eyes closed. Cool. I'll turn it on and off again.
Yes, sorry, I just thought I'd say that whilst we're there. Sorry, carry on, guys.
No, I was just going to say, following off Rachel's point, as cliche as it might sound, it really is know your worth, because I think as women, we're taught to know our worth in terms of relationships potentially. And that's the only place where we're taught, and that's really instilled in us. But we have a worth in the workplace. You know, we shouldn't be afraid to ask for more money. We shouldn't be asked to, push for that. And you shouldn't hopefully have to even push at all. You should hopefully be given what you're worth. But that was, I think, my biggest thing I look back on. And I think, God, I was a real cheap date, real cheap piece of resource at a lot of places that I worked at. And I wish I wasn't afraid to push more and stand up for what I was worth, not only from a salary perspective, but also in terms of how I was treated, my progression, roadmap, all of that. And I just think, just know your worth and stay true to that.
I think that is a massive thing, actually. Sorry, Mary, I'm interjecting very quickly, and something that sorry, excuse my French, fucked up really badly with when I was younger, because I was so desperate to elevate my career. I worked my arse off and, worked for big, I started my career in publishing, similar to Mary, and then moved into working for brands, and then eventually got agency world. But certainly when I was in publishing and when I was working for brands, it was very male dominated, very aggressive. And I just didn't ask. I was ambitious and I got promoted, but I didn't ask for the big pay rises. And I remember leaving one job that I had, not being big-headed, but I'd done a lot better than my predecessor. I'd really worked hard, and I was on, tiny wage, like 29 grand or something in my early 20s. So it wasn't too bad but in London. And they then advertised my job for 45 grand. So fucked off. And it was just because I wasn't know my worth, but I was like, I'm young, I'm in my early 20s. Even though I knew I was smashing it, I didn't ask. I was just so grateful to have the job title. I didn't ask. And I really wish, because I did end up obviously having a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. Just ask. Don't be. I think men are so much better at asking sometimes, and we just don't ask.
You've got to ask yourself the question why people don't ask. All right, and I think there's a very important lesson in this that I hope everybody who's listening to this panel will think about, and that is that women do not like to make themselves unpopular. And if you are seen to be pushy, or you're pushing for more money or whatever, you don't take what you're offered. There's this issue around the kind of gap between gratitude and the fact that you're in that role. We've given you a chance, okay? Sorry, I'm not encouraging people to make themselves unpopular, by the way, but as somebody who is outspoken I just feel it's important to state what is pretty obvious to me. We don't ask because we don't want to upset. And frankly, it's, you know, you being overdrawn, you being the one who has to work out how you're going to be able to afford to look the way you look and do the things that you want to do, and you know, and compete with guys, because you know, on a level playing field. Unless we actually make it absolutely crystal clear that we know our worth and we understand our worth, and we're not going to accept, you know, the lesser paycheck because we got the chance to. It happens at all levels in all organizations, this, and it's got to stop.
Yeah.
What practical advice would you give Mary to,
Well,
say for example you were going in to ask for a pay rise, or you were going to, what are the things that you would say or do?
Well, I think the first and most important thing is to understand the commercials of your business. Because if you do not understand what the commercial imperatives are, and that, you know, and the contribution that the role that you're in makes to the achievement of those objectives, then you're not going to get anywhere. Because you're not going to, the argument for, or the rationale for salary increases or for promotion and more money needs to be very clearly aligned to and connected to you know, what you do and how it makes that contribution to the business's success. And I you know, and I speak again from many years experience of having people coming to me and asking for salary increases, and me also having to go to people and asking, you know, or negotiating my package or whatever it might be. And I've always been really clear, questioning and getting to understand the commercials of that business before I ever put a pitch in for. It's exactly the same as if you're working for a client and you're going to go and pitch, you know, you're going to put a working commercial proposal in. You've got to understand that you're going to make a difference to that business. Otherwise, why am I doing the job? And the difference that I'm going to make is going to hit your bottom line, or it's going to affect your valuation, and that puts you in a far stronger position to then say, and I am worth this. And I'm going to mention Melina Jakovu, because she, every year her agency issues or publishes a benchmarking of the industry in terms of the, you know, salaries and so on and so forth. You know, do your research, go in informed. Don't think they're doing you a favor, right? They're going to want to get you for as little money as they possibly can. So make sure, you know, it's not aggressive to be, you know, you're just being robust. And I think by being robust, you have a robust relationship with the business. You have, once you know, you get what you think you're worth, then you just get on with it and you do a great job.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest thing. Mona, what you said, I think there's been lots of feedback in the chat as well. You know your worth. Don't be scared to ask. If you think you're worth it and you think you're worth more, then put yourself forward for it. I think men traditionally have been a lot better at doing that than we have as women. So don't be scared and just do it, because the worst thing they can do is say no. And I've done that. That's something I learned. I was really crap at that at the beginning of my career. You know, obviously now I'm the boss, so I don't need to worry about it, but so much. But you know, I haven't been the boss for long. Like 2-3 years ago, you know, 3 years ago, I was still doing that. So don't be, and that even if you're contracting, you know, think about your hourly or daily rate. Don't be scared to understand your worth and fight for it. I mean, everyone can do that, but us women especially.
Yeah, and then maybe Katie, just some advice, because I know some of you run small agencies and smaller businesses that often, like in a difficult year as well, often don't have the budget to pay people more, even maybe more, like as much as you think they're worth. I think some of the tactics that I think can work are also, not everyone, yes, money is a great solution and a great way of identifying your value in the marketplace and of showing people that work for you that the same. But going into some of those negotiations on either side, as a manager or as an employee, I'd also be looking at, well, what are the things that are going to improve your life, that are going to improve your you know, well-being? Is it doing a condensed week? Is it getting paid 5 days and working 4? Is it more flexible working? Is it, and some of those might be your entitlement anyway, and you should absolutely be claiming them and claim your stake. But I think also look at, you know, other benefits, more holiday, like, oh my God, give me more holiday. Maybe not this year because I can't go anywhere. But you know, in a normal year, like just give me another 8 days holiday, give me a pay rise. Sure, this is what I want. You can meet me here, great. But then give me 5 days extra holiday. There's other and you can give that to your employees if you're an employer and don't feel like you've got the budget to give them the pay they maybe deserve. But look at other ways of rewarding people as well. I think we need to look at holistic well-being of women and employees and alongside pay.
Yeah, and I'll just stretch that as well, Rachel, just to echo that, and also just say that it's also, as well as the benefits and the financial aspect that come with your role, but also your worth like across the table, your opinions being heard, your input. Sometimes there might be box ticking exercises that are done that they've got a female in the role and they're paying her the standard wage, but actually are your contributions being noticed? Are they being listened to? Are your thoughts and ideas being heard? Are you being treated like the expert that you are in the room? And I just think know your worth covers all of that, not only in terms of the package that you try and negotiate for yourself, but also in terms of your voice being heard and decisions, the ability to make decisions within your organization as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's changed so much, and it's definitely better than it was. I mean, I've had some horrendous things happen to me in my career, probably, that I just brushed away because I was a woman, like, men touching my leg in a meeting, like all sorts of, I could get them done for that now, but 20 years ago or longer than that. Yeah, how long ago have I been working? God, I can't. Yeah, I have 20 years. Have I been working for 20 years? Yeah, I'm 38. So there we go. You all know how old I am now. And I actually started work when I was 17. So there's something for you. So yeah, I've been working, and back then, so many inappropriate things that just wouldn't happen now used to happen as well. And I think because I was too scared to stand up for myself, or too scared, I just thought, I don't know, that I think the world is a much better place than it was, but we do all need to know our worth and stand up as women, and ask for what and complain when it's not right as well. Someone's asked, and I'm going to put this question to everyone. So corporate companies are currently making an effort to make their boards and staff more diverse by specifically instructing that they hire women over men. I'm not sure if I've heard that, but maybe it does happen. I'm sure it does. Therefore, they're not hiring men for the position because they're not a token woman and they want to have a woman on the board. What do you think about this? Is this truly what we mean by equality? Is this a sustainable way to be diverse, and what can we do instead?
Well, it's really difficult to find senior women that will sit on your board, quite simply, and because so many women leave the industry, or they leave industries because they don't get on and they don't get the rewards that they think that they should deserve. I mean, it's really interesting. I know Sarah Belton, who's the CEO of Thames Water, and she has children. she's had a really incredible career today, and she's incredibly successful. And she's brilliant as well, but we're looking at exceptions, not the rule. And I think that there needs to be much more proactivity about promoting and mentoring women when they get to a relatively senior level in businesses, and encouraging them, giving them an opportunity and a fast track to actually sit on a real board with real decision makers and be party to those decision making being made. Because I don't, for one, do not want to be hearing in 10 years time or 5 years time, or even next year if at all possible, about how you have to fight constantly to be heard, or have to be the controversial, outspoken person, finger pointing here, there and everywhere. It's not fair on women who have broken through, and then they're seen as tokens. They're not tokens. They have had to fight to get to be successful, and we should celebrate those women, not consider them to be tokens. But we also have to have policies and procedures and ways in which we can bring women through, like you guys, here today. You know, the companies have to be proactive. It's not to the detriment of men. It's we have to recognize talent, and we have to encourage it, and we have to bring it up the ladder more quickly than, I'm sorry, but old people like me sitting on the board, not allowing anybody to get any further. The truth is that, I want to encourage and positively, desire to have more female leaders, because I know that the world would be a better place.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. I also think I know it's International Women's Day, but I think it's also more diversity and underrepresented groups at a more senior level right across the board. And it's not tokenism. It is for the benefit of the business. Totally. And I would even go as far as to say that we should start thinking about quotas, because it's not happening fast enough.
I wonder whether
people from disadvantaged backgrounds or underrepresented groups.
100%.
Linda, I think you said when we chatted before about this needs to start so much, and Mona, I know you've got some good stories behind this, but it just needs to start so much earlier. I think the education has to be at schools on this. This has to be, we need to be starting this earlier, this story, and understand it. And I hope, God, she's a poor anywhere that she works. My daughter is totally opinionated, and I don't think will be scared to stand her ground. But I think it has to start. I think it has to start younger. It does. We need to be teaching this in schools, and that if we can, and I still don't think that's happening, by the way. But if that's fundamentally, if it changes there, in 20-30 years, we'll start to see a bigger change, I think.
Yeah,
I hope I don't have to wait that long.
Let's hope, yeah. But I still don't think it's being done right at schools. That's why I'm saying that. I mean, gosh, please chip in. If
my 15-year-old goddaughter said the other day that she felt like our generation had failed her generation, and that gave me really good pause for thought.
See, Linda, you don't need to put pressure on yourself, because everyone else around you is putting pressure on you.
Yeah, I just thought, oh my God, we fought so hard and we're still fighting. Listen to us.
There was an adage that a friend of mine shared this morning, which was strong women, long may we see them, be them and raise them. And I think there's something quite powerful in that message, but also it draws on the allies point. And I think about, like, my husband is he's just walked in the room, that's such bad timing. He is such a champion for women, and I rely on, like, we can't do it alone, Linda. Like, you can't change society on your own, but micro actions and micro phrases, like my friend posting that on her Instagram, that someone will read and hopefully make them think about things differently, and think about what does a strong woman look like? Well, it looks like someone holding a baby. My husband talking to his colleagues at work about International Women's Day, and my wife's doing a few panels today, and isn't that great that she's on a platform? Well, yeah, but why aren't you on a platform, mate? Like, you talk about it. It's much more powerful than me talking about it. So I think, it's how do we break down this big thing and turn it into these tiny little actions that are then eventually going to culminate in a bigger action. That's all we can do.
Yeah, I'm wishing I'd got a man on the panel. We should have got your husband involved, Rachel.
Next year.
We've only got 2 minutes to go now, so we won't drag him in now. But yeah, I agree, and I do think having men champion this massively helps our cause. Right, I only have 2 minutes left. Can I squeeze in one last question? So there's been a couple of questions. So I'm going to ask the one from, I hope you'll say your name right, Shalaka. It's the best name ever. How do you balance mental health with pushing for more as a woman in the workplace? For example, the anxiety that comes with feeling unpopular, which we were talking about earlier, the stress of having to prove yourself, etc. And how did you overcome it?
I went to a psychologist.
God, I see one every week.
And that's what works for me. And I do, and I think you have to talk openly about it, because being, the sense of being hated or disliked is so horrific, and I absolutely couldn't bear it, and it really upset me, and I used to cry myself to sleep at night and didn't want, it was affecting my work and blah, 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 blah. And I mean, this went on for quite a long time. So I think, by going to a psychologist and speaking about what was going on, it really helped me. But I really don't want that to be what you have to do, Shalaka. I hope you can find a mentor, somebody that you can talk to. And I think this is where we, as all women who've tasted success, we can really give back. And I know that all of us do. So, but it's really important that we continue to.
Yeah.
Shalaka, I feel like you've peered into my soul and seen the words and the horrible mantras that I've said over myself in the past. I spent a long several years of my career worrying about people not liking me, worrying about people not liking or respecting the decisions and difficult decisions that I had to make. And I actually was really lucky, Mary. I had a coach. I had an executive coach who just really helped free me from some of that stuff. Did loads of really simple exercises of like, what do you value in yourself? That means that you actually don't need validation from other people. And I think just knowing that made me so much more comfortable in my own skin. And then I can say, look, yeah, those demons still get to me now sometimes. And I find things like exercise, things like that really help me cope with that stress and anxiety. And I do get that with my role and just with life generally. But I think I'm definitely more free now of, I don't need validation from other people to know that, I'm a good leader. I'm, a busy, but, accomplished woman who's juggling loads of different stuff and loads of different pressures, and I'm kind of at peace with that now, I guess.
Yeah, just one final thing from me was, I'd say my mum was my biggest cheerleader and the person who really spurred me and gave me the confidence to just go for it, just to do anything. She made me feel like I was absolutely invincible and that I deserved to be at any table across a whole boardroom full of men, and I was her daughter. I could do it. And actually, when I lost her 4 years ago, I had a massive knock in my confidence. Obviously, not only went through that grief of losing her, but I suddenly thought, I'm not meant to be in these rooms anymore, because she was the biggest cheerleader in my life. And over the last 4 years, through all of the the methods that Rachael and Mary have talked about, whether it's getting a mentor at work or outside of work, or my sister was a great support for me. I'm lucky I know people like Katie, our head of HR, is an amazing, strong, powerful woman who really reminds me all the time when I'm having a wobble that I deserve to have my place and to make the decisions that I'm making. But I would really say that your network, your team, you build that, because those are the people that you need. They always say don't allow other people's opinions to influence you, but sometimes you need a good solid team behind you, whether that's 1 or 2 people to really push you on. But of course, making your time for yourself in terms of health and well-being is really important as well.
Yeah, definitely. And us women are such great cheerleaders for each other. So Mary's mentored me. I speak to all of you girls. So yeah, I think use your fellow female colleagues and people that are maybe more senior than you, and also maybe less senior than you, and talk to them, because us women usually all have each other's backs.
Yeah, and it's funny because we've all got, women weirdly have a rep of being bitchy, and it's so funny because the majority of workplaces that I've worked for, they've been my biggest cheerleader, and we've always stuck together. So yeah, I definitely echo that, Katie.
With you on that. Now we have gone very slightly over, but I just want to say thank you so much. This has been so much fun. There's so many more questions that I want to ask you. Now we are, for anyone who's on Clubhouse, if you follow me, I'm Katie Street or Streetmate on there. We are going to be trying to continue the chat over there. I'm not sure if all of you ladies can join us, but if any of you can, please do. I can't remember the name of the room, but it's called something that I'm attached to. So if you follow me, I'm going to go on now, and you join the room that I'm in, then you should be able to find our Clubhouse room. Mary, are you going to join us?
I'm going to try and join you for about 15 minutes, if that's okay. Michaela has put the Clubhouse address in the chat. So it was a real pleasure and a privilege to meet you all, ladies. Yes, and thank you. And Linda, nice to see you again too.
So much fun. Thank you all for joining. Have a fantastic International Women's Day evening to everyone who's not joining us on Clubhouse. If you're joining us on Clubhouse, I'll see you in a minute.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.